Imagine meeting your childhood love again, but in a situation you never expected. Raphael, a multimillionaire, is used to solving problems with money, but nothing prepares him for the shock of seeing Helena, the girl who was once his world, living on the streets. What happened to her? Why did she disappear? And will he be able to help her rewrite her story? Or will it be too late? What begins as an act of compassion quickly turns into a journey of secrets revealed, emotional challenges, and a connection that defies all odds. Don't miss this story that will move, surprise, and show that true love is stronger than any obstacle. The night was cool, and Raphael needed a moment away from formalities. After hours of smiling at investors and engaging in endless conversations, he decided to walk through the busy streets of São Miguel. Streetlights cast soft shadows on the sidewalks as people hurried past, each with their own story. Raphael, however, was lost in his thoughts, questioning the emptiness that seemed to grow inside him. It was then that he saw her, sitting on a street corner, holding a sign that said, "Just a smile helps." He stopped instantly. His heart sped up. He blinked a few times, thinking he was seeing things. That woman. It was impossible. He approached slowly, barely breathing. "Helena," he called with hesitation in his voice. The woman looked up, suspicious. His face was marked by time and hardship, but Raphael recognized those eyes. They were the same ones he remembered from his childhood, full of life and brightness. Now, however, they were enveloped by something he couldn't name. "That depends," she replied, frowning. "Who's asking?" "It's me, Raphael, from Villa Serena. Can't believe we last saw each other at the lake. When did you say I would never be able to catch anything decent?" Helena narrowed her eyes, trying to recognize him. His expression alternated between confusion and disbelief. "Villa Serena. What are you trying to do, some kind of YouTube prank?" "No, Helena, it's me." He felt the need to kneel, as if that gesture could prove his sincerity. "What happened to you? How did you get here?" She gave a dry laugh, crossing her arms. "That's none of your business, Raphael. And to be honest, I don't know if I believe it's you. People like you don't walk streets like this." Raphael felt a tightness in his chest. It wasn't just her condition that made him uncomfortable, but the bitter tone in her voice. He wanted to help her, but he didn't know how. "Why don't you come have dinner with me?" "Just to catch up?" he suggested, forcing a smile that he hoped would be convincing. "Oh, of course. And after that, are you going to give me one of those motivational speeches? I don't need that, Raphael. I just want to help you," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he actually was. Helena stared at him for a moment, then shook her head. "If you want to help, Raphael, start by accepting that not everyone wants or needs charity." He took a deep breath, but didn't back down. Instead, he surprised Helena and himself by sitting next to her on the sidewalk. "So tell me what you need." She looked at him for a few seconds, with a cynical smile on her lips. "If you think sitting here is going to turn you into some kind of hero, you're wrong. I'm not a hero, Helena. I just want to understand." The two were silent. Raphael noticed that time seemed to pass slower next to her. While he waited for Helena to say something, she seemed to be deciding whether it was worth opening up a little of her life. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer. "Do you want to understand? So come back tomorrow, with less certainty and more patience." Raphael nodded, stood up and looked at her one last time before walking away. Something inside him knew that this meeting would change his life. He didn't have all the answers, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was on the right path. The next morning, Raphael woke up restless. He had dreamed of Helena, but it was not a happy dream. She was in the same place as the night before, but increasingly distant, as if the world around her was erasing her presence. He knew he couldn't ignore what he felt. I needed to go back. As he drove through the city, his mind was filled with memories. Childhood in Villa Serena seemed so distant, but at the same time so vivid. He remembered the day Helena challenged him to fish, even though she knew he was terrible at it. "If you take anything bigger than a stick, I'll let you have my favorite eraser," she said, laughing, as she held up a makeshift line. "Don't underestimate my abilities," Raphael replied, determined. He failed miserably, but Helena's laugh that afternoon was something he never forgot. It was genuine, like everything she did. When he arrived at the place where he found her the night before, Raphael didn't see her right away. For a moment he thought she might be gone, but then he noticed a discreet movement next to a trash cart. There she was, with the same suspicious look. "You really came back," said Helena, crossing her arms. "I promised, didn't I?" Raphael replied with a smile. "And I brought coffee and no caviar, I swear." Helena laughed, although she was clearly trying not to show it. "Well, I'll take coffee, but don't think that means I'm going to open up to you." "Fair. But who said I was here to hear your story? Maybe I just want company for coffee." Helena narrowed her eyes, suspicious. "You're not as funny as you think you are." The two sat on a nearby bench. Raphael delivered the coffee and a simple sandwich he bought on the way. For a while they ate in silence, but little by little, Helena began to relax. "Why are you so interested in me, Raphael? You have money, success. What do you want from someone like me?" she asked, looking at him. "I want to understand. I want to know what happened to you. And honestly, I want to know if there is still something of Helena da Villa Serena here." Helena sighed, stirring her coffee with the straw. "Helena from Villa Serena left behind a long time ago, Raphael. And if she's still here, she's just a shadow." "I don't believe it. And I think deep down, neither do you." Helena didn't respond. They fell silent again, but this time the silence seemed less uncomfortable. Raphael knew he hadn't earned her trust yet, but he felt he was on the right path. Raphael returned to the meeting place the next day. "This time, I brought a bag with essentials. Clean clothes, toiletries, and a new coat." Helena was in the same place, but when she saw the bag, she frowned. "You're starting to scare me, Raphael." "What is this now?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "These are things you might need," he replied, trying not to sound patronizing. "I thought an extra coat would be useful." Helena shook her head, but made no move to pick up the bag. "And what comes next? Do you want me to accept this and in return tell you my entire life?" "I don't want anything in return, Helena," said Raphael sincerely. "I just want you to know that you don't have to face everything alone." She sighed and finally picked up her coat, but left the rest of the bag on the floor. "Look, I know you want to help, but you're not going to fix anything with clothes or nice words." "Then tell me how I can help. Tell me what you need." "I need you to stop acting like I'm a project," she said, with a tone of irritation. "My life is not a puzzle you can solve." Raphael remained silent, absorbing her words. He realized that perhaps he was approaching it the wrong way. "You're right," he admitted. "I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not giving up on you, Helena." "Why do you care so much, Raphael?" she asked, with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Because I met you when you were the most alive and inspiring person I have ever met, and I think that person is still out there, somewhere." Helena was silent for a few moments before speaking, with a lower voice. "Life is not that simple, Raphael. Things happen, and we don't always have a choice." "Then tell me what happened," he insisted. With a distant look, Helena began to speak. "After my parents died, everything fell apart. The bills, the debts, nothing made sense. I tried to keep the house, but I couldn't. When I lost my job, it was the beginning of the end." Raphael listened to every word, feeling the weight of the story. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to make a difference. Raphael decided he couldn't continue just listening to Helena's story without taking more meaningful action. He made some calls and got a place at a reputable shelter with social reintegration programs. When he told Helena the news, She looked at him skeptically. "A shelter?" he asked, crossing his arms. "Do you really think it's that simple?" "I don't think it's simple, Helena. But it's a start," he replied, trying to remain calm. "Do you think I've never tried this before? These people look at you as if you were a problem to be solved. It's humiliating." "I know you're tired, but this shelter is different," Raphael insisted. "They have programs that can help you get back on your feet." Helena sighed, looking at the floor. "And what happens when I fail again, Raphael? Because believe me, it's just a matter of time." "What if you don't fail?" he countered. "What if this is what you need to start again?" Helena laughed, but there was something vulnerable in her tone. "You have an answer for everything, don't you?" "Not for everything, but for that, I am willing to try together with you," said Raphael firmly. Finally she agreed, albeit reluctantly. Raphael took her to the shelter and stayed by her side while she registered. Despite the initial discomfort, Helena began to participate in the activities and, little by little, gained the confidence to open up. It was on the third day that she surprised herself by taking out a notebook and starting to write. However, Raphael's decision to help Helena was not well received by everyone. During a business meeting, one of his partners, Ricardo, confronted him. "So now you are the savior of the homeless?" asked Ricardo with an ironic smile. "You know what this can do to your reputation, don't you?" "My reputation doesn't worry me as much as you think, Ricardo," replied Raphael coldly. "What if this is a scam? Have you never considered this possibility?" continued Ricardo. Raphael leaned forward, crossing his hands. "I'm not helping Helena because I expect something in return. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do." Despite the criticism, Raphael remained firm in his decision. He visited Helena regularly at the shelter, and the two began to regain some of the connection they had in childhood. During one of the visits, Helena, with a tone of light sarcasm, commented, "I never thought that the boy who didn't know how to fish would be so stubborn. And I never thought that the girl who lent me the eraser would be so difficult to convince," replied Raphael, smiling. As time passed, Raphael realized that helping Helena was transforming not only her life, but also his own. He felt like he was finally doing something that really mattered. Helena was starting to change. By participating in activities at the shelter and rediscovering her skills, she began to believe that a different future was possible. Raphael continued to visit her, always bringing a smile and a joke to ease the tension. "Did you know I'm becoming an instant coffee expert?" she said, holding up a disposable cup. "If this starting over thing goes wrong, I can open a coffee shop." "Well, if you need an investor, you know who to turn to," replied Raphael, laughing. Days turned into weeks, and Helena got a job at a small local store. It was something simple, but it represented a big step for her. When Raphael first showed up at the store, she tried to appear unconcerned. "If you came to buy something, I hope you bring a lot of money. My commissions are low," he joked. "Actually, I came to buy a smile," he replied. "How much does it cost?" Helena laughed, but inside she was grateful. Raphael's constant presence helped her stay focused, even when the challenges seemed insurmountable. He, in turn, felt that each visit strengthened their connection. But there was a conversation they hadn't yet had, about how they felt about each other. One night, while they were walking together after Helena's shift, Raphael finally broke the silence. "Helena, I need to say something," he began, stopping on the sidewalk. She looked at him, intrigued. "What it was? Don't tell me you're planning another big help." "No, in fact, it's something simpler and more complicated at the same time," he said with a nervous smile. "I realize that I never stopped caring about you. Even after all these years, you are still special to me." Helena remained silent, processing his words. Finally she replied, "Raphael, I don't know if I can believe this. My life is still a mess. We're all a little messed up, he said softly, "but together we can make sense." Helena smiled, a genuine smile he hadn't seen in years. "You have an annoying way of convincing me, you know that?" "I prefer to think of it as persistence," he replied, laughing. They decided to give something a try that they both thought was impossible. But more than that, they created a bigger plan. Together, Raphael and Helena founded an organization to help people in vulnerable situations. Helena used her own story to inspire others, while Raphael invested his resources to expand the project's reach. At an event to inaugurate the organization's first headquarters, Helena gave a speech that moved everyone. "If someone had told me that life could change so much in such a short time, I wouldn't have believed them. But here I am, proving that even in the worst situations, there is always hope." Raphael, beside her, looked on with pride. When the ceremony ended, he approached and whispered, "Helena, from Villa Serena, is still here." "And Raphael, who didn't know how to fish, ended up becoming someone I really admire," she replied. As the two looked out at the gathered crowd, they realized that despite all the obstacles, they were exactly where they were supposed to be, together, creating something that made a difference.